Welcome, welcome, guys. Another episode of Mitten State Sports Corner. We got ourselves a special guest with us today, as well as the usual bread and bread show that most of you probably don't care about. Anyway, you probably care about the guests more than us anyway, so that's fine. We've got ourselves Eric Tinnin here, who kind of got a little interesting sports, card show / convention that he runs, as well as some other adventures. So he's going to tell us a little bit about it. But without further ado, welcome, Eric. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no
Appreciate
problem.
it.
So, obviously being, sports-based in your adventure, tell us a little bit about what it is and how you got into it.
Yeah, so the sports side came about 2-3 years ago at our stores. We have the Media Reload stores. Got 5 stores throughout Michigan.
Cool.
Started off as just video game store. We were in the video rental business years and years ago with Jumbo Video, probably before your guys' day.
I remember Jumbo Video. I was in a few of those myself.
Okay, yeah.
I went to those over Blockbuster.
I was a Blockbuster guy, to be honest.
Look, it makes sense.
Well,
makes a lot of sense.
I grew up here or it was Mammoth Video in Ortonville.
Mammoth, yeah.
Or the Blockbuster in Davison.
Fair enough.
Yep.
So
okay.
That's fine. You were deprived. It's good. It's okay.
Yeah. So when those started going down, we opened up Media Reload, and with growth, you got to keep adding things to your stores, and that's what we've done. And sports cards and Pokemon. So once we got into the whole sports card side of it, started doing shows, and just like anything else, you attend something and you see something and you see the possibilities of something. Like these shows around town are awesome and they're fun. But we thought, how could we improve on that? How can we make it a little bit bigger? Bring some of the celebrities that are down in the Detroit market up here to Flint, because not everyone wants to travel an hour to go get an autograph. So there's a ton of Flint's a rich sports town. It's so much athletes come out of Flint. So we put our heads together and decided that Flint needed a big sports card convention.
Detroit's somewhat on the way back. It's time for Flint to start doing the same thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And we do a lot of stuff downtown Flint too, and a lot of people still are afraid of the Flint mentality, the Flint stigma.
Blame Netflix for that one.
Yeah, no kidding.
It was a great show, but boy, did it put a sour taste in everyone's mouth about Flint.
It did. And these more community events that people can put on, are only going to help with that. When people, we've actually got a company out of Minnesota coming out.
Okay.
A guy from Pennsylvania just booked a couple tables, so we're reaching people outside of the state too, which is pretty cool. But it's getting these guys within an hour to come up to Flint and see that there is positivity happening here.
Sure.
And so we've got Door Financial that's sitting there, 21,000 square feet of event space.
Yes.
Are you guys going to be put in like the other rink that used to be? Now it's mainly held as like a convention center.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So where the Chrome and Ice is and all that stuff, right? Is that the same? Yeah, okay.
Arena 2.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
And we've done stuff with Jeremy before at Door Financial, so we know how it works. We know that they can hold the capacity of the people and the vendors. So that's kind of how it started, just attending these these smaller shows and figuring out a way to how can we build on these, make it a community event, get some charities involved. Like we've got the Boys and Girls Club involved.
Awesome.
We're working on more charities, so that way people know it's not about money.
You got a good thing going, because like it's such a technology world nowadays, and so many kids are into the video games and all that stuff. So it's real, it's a nice in to as far as getting the youth involved for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the cool thing about our store. Like, sports card shops are cool. Pokemon card shops are cool.
Sure.
But none of those stores can you go to and trade in old video games and get Pokemon.
Right.
Trade in Pokemon and get video games.
Right.
Or vinyl records.
Sure.
So that's
vinyl records.
Yeah.
Love it.
And that's huge. It's been one of the biggest categories we've added to our stores over the last couple of years, and been a big focus. We order brand new vinyl.
Okay.
We got any Kelsey fans out there, we got the Swifts. We got the T-Swifts in stock.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, okay, we won't go there.
I'm so sick of seeing their damn face everywhere, man.
I just want the Lions to win. That's it. The Chiefs
we're not
are done.
getting that.
I know, but it's just that's just how we feel.
Go Josh Allen.
Let's go, Josh. We're pulling for you. Or Jaden Daniels can win too, I guess,
I'm going
because
Jaden.
I like what he's about. I think he stands for a lot of good things. Not to pull you off subject, but
no.
Yeah, so we'll come back to. We'll do some football talk later.
Yeah,
we'll come back to that.
But so tell us what. So okay, let's say I sign up to come to one of these events.
Yeah.
Okay, What do I expect when I get there? So what should I expect?
You can get face painting by Kendra.
Ooh, see, so I can get the Hulk.
great.
I can get the Hulk. Perfect.
Oh,
Okay.
she's great.
No, she does when she does a she does a chalkboard to go to country club.
Yeah.
She drew like a lion's head for the Lions game the other day, and Bill shared it at his Facebook. I was like, holy shit.
Yeah, she's awesome. I've seen some of her stuff before.
Yeah, and I've known Kendra since she was in kindergarten. Her and my daughter were good friends, and
That's cool.
but yeah, it's awesome. So as far as you talking about, like as a vendor,
Yeah, no, if I was to come up and attend one of your, not as a vendor, if I was just somebody random in the public, what would I expect?
yeah. So kind of the twist we're putting on this is Comic-Cons are pretty popular, right?
Yes.
And sports card shows are popular, so we're trying to combine the two.
Okay.
As in not just coming into a sports card show and just seeing tables full of sports cards. It's cool, I love it, but it's not for everybody. So we're kind of bringing our store mentality to this convention and making it more for a family. Like we have a lady that's going to have a table that makes earrings, like different jerseys of the Lions, Tiger, all that. And we have 2 or 3 people that do 3D printing that have different like keychain things, and we got a couple of vendors that do tumblers.
Okay.
You know, so it's going to be more of that convention style where there's going to be something for everybody. That's
Sure.
kind of our mentality at our stores.
Okay.
You come to our store, there's something for everybody. And that's what we really want to do with this show, is make it fun for the whole family.
Yeah.
You know, like you can't go to a convention for $5.
Right.
You go to a Comic-Con, you're spending $20 to $30 a ticket.
Easy.
You know, and not a lot of
And like
families can afford
$300 on a costume.
Right, right. if you're lucky.
it. Add another zero sometimes.
Oh,
I was
believe
saying,
that.
and that's if we go to Party City.
Yeah, yeah, or T-Mobile, yeah.
Right, right.
Yeah. So that's the exciting part. It's going to be a fun family event, community event. So coming to a show, you're going to expect all kinds of different things. We're going to have bounce houses.
Nice.
You know, the Dunk Tank, they are providing 2 or 3 different bounce houses that are going to be sports themed.
I feel bad for whoever has to go in the dunk tank. Even if it's indoors, it's still going to be colder as shit.
It is going to
We
be
should
cool.
put you in the
March?
Dunk Tank.
We should.
I'm
in.
sorry, we got something going on that day.
I'm in.
I've been in a dunk
we'll
tank
get
before.
Chris.
It sucks.
We'll get Chris.
Oh,
he
he'll
didn't
do it.
Since he didn't even connect us.
Yeah, he'll do it.
Yeah.
That's just Chris. He would
He'll
definitely
do
do
it.
something like that.
Yeah. So we'll put Chris in the Dunk Tank.
There you
so
go.
when you're watching Chris, you're going in the Dunk Tank.
Yeah. You heard it here first.
Yeah. And we've got artists on board. One had to back out, unfortunately, just 2 days ago.
Okay.
But again, just more variety of things. You know, more variety of stuff to look at, items, and memorabilia will be a big one. I mean, you'll get that at some sports card shows, but you know, Matt just with JMC, he's going to have 2 or 3 tables set up with just all kinds of memorabilia.
Cool.
I mean, stuff that I'll probably go broke. So,
Yeah, it happens.
yeah, he'll have a bunch of Hutch stuff. He'll have a lot of your Lions and your Tigers and Wings stuff. So it's just going to be 21,000 square feet of just awesome
Awesome.
stuff.
That's super cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, you know, we've seen some of it online and stuff. Obviously, haven't attended one yet. You know, and
Yeah.
that's something that I've been a little intrigued by. And then, you know, I see on some of these that you've got some athletes coming out. I mean, who do you got signed up so far for this one? And
No, good point. And I don't know how I missed that part. So
That's okay.
a lot of these smaller shows don't have guests either. And that's another thing we wanted. Like I said, we wanted to bring athletes to this area because there's a lot of athletes that came from this area. Andre Rison, Flint's own.
sure.
He was a 5-time Pro Bowler. He's won 1 Super Bowl, I believe. Born and raised here, you
That's
know. So
awesome.
we're bringing him back, and he's excited to be here. Where it all started for him, we've got Darren McCarty, who obviously was one of the best lines in
Yeah.
hockey history, probably.
Absolutely.
Probably the biggest fight in hockey history.
Oh,
100%.
1000%.
It's an iconic photo.
Oh, yeah.
Literally an iconic photo.
And we'll have those on hand to get autographed.
Excellent.
And the cool thing with that is we have a sponsor that covered his cost.
Excellent.
All his proceeds, so any amount of money he makes signing, is all going back to the Boys and Girls Club.
That's awesome.
He's agreed to do that. He's actually agreed to doing it for 2 extra hours. He was
sweet.
originally just 12 to 2. Now he's doing it from 12 to 4 because
That's
he
great.
knows it's going to go back to the community. So that was cool. We've got Braylon Edwards, who
Legend.
one of the best
I-
Michigan
yeah.
players,
One of
probably.
my favorite. Mhm.
He's probably one of my top Michigan players.
Pretty
too,
sure
of all
when we
time.
did a Michigan football snake draft, I took Braylon
You
Edwards.
did. You did.
Yeah. I mean,
Why wouldn't you?
why wouldn't you?
Back when he resonates to me because that was back when I was younger, but it was at the point where I started to able to remember Michigan
Yeah.
football.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he stole Edwards from me on his draft, so I went Mario Mann because he was the same way for me. Is like when I was getting into Michigan football heavily at a young age, Mario Manningham was the dude right after, right? Like, you know what I mean? So those were like the two dudes that I would remember from my childhood. So like I said, man, that took Edwards from me. So I guess I got to go Mario. But he was Super Mario at the time, man. Some of those plays were just, man. Like Steve Breston, I mean, like there was just so many good ones that came through, you know. But anyways, not to cut you off, sorry.
No, you're good. Yeah, Super Mario was one of my favorites too. And then we've got Dan Skipper.
Skip.
Lions, you know,
Did he report or not yet?
He reported.
That's awesome. I just want to make sure we're not going to have any issues, you know. So
we're trying to get a promo with them, but they don't. A lot of these modern day athletes don't do the promos. McCarty's working on one for us right now, but he's reported. He's
excellent.
Signed as long as you know. Obviously, anything can happen, but
yeah, hopefully the refs don't take him out. I understand.
Yeah, as long as he doesn't go near Dallas.
That's right.
Yeah, that's still a sore subject.
You ain't lying.
That was ridiculous.
Dallas is just
That
Dallas.
was ridiculous.
Yeah, it's sad.
They come to Detroit this year finally.
Good.
This upcoming season. So
Good.
I mean, it's about time we.
So
rub it in
when we
their
were
face.
talking the other night, we were going over the Lions schedule, and we brought up like, oh, Dallas comes to Detroit. I didn't realize Dallas plays road games.
Yeah.
well,
And so what was so funny? I was scrolling through Twitter later on that night,
Yeah.
and sure as shit, I saw someone said the exact same thing as I did.
Yeah,
It's like,
I
no,
mean-
I said it first.
Right.
somebody stole it from you.
I said it first.
Yeah.
No, that's super cool. I think Dan is you know, let me tell you something. Like, Dan Skipper embodies this new regime very, very well
Agreed.
because he is somebody that was a journeyman for the most part, you know, was fighting for contracts and is now one of the most beloved Lions players as a backup lineman.
Yeah.
Like, let's be honest. I mean, he started some games, but out of injury necessity.
injury,
but,
correct.
like, has to be one of the most beloved backups you'll ever meet. Looks like he's a giant human, and like, but he just embodies the toughness, the grit, the willingness, and like I personally I love Dan, and I haven't even met him, and like I love it. It's just an awesome.
He just
dude.
has the look of a Detroit guy.
He does.
The
He does.
bald head, the
For sure.
goatee.
Yep.
He's
Yeah,
a
and-
Detroit guy.
You know, that was, you know, everyone wants the big names. Everyone wants the Hutch. Everyone wants St. Brown, which
Yeah.
obviously,
Sure.
me too. But, you know, these guys a lot of these big guys are signed by fanatics.
Oh, yeah.
They get
Yeah.
very little signings. You know, a lot of them don't even do public signings. So, like Panay Sewell.
Right.
Would love to have Panay. I think he's one of
Absolutely.
the best
Oh,
players in all of football. Like,
I
a
agree.
stud, you know, but he just doesn't do, you
Yep.
know, public signings a lot. So, and we got thinking, it's like he's probably one of the biggest fan favorites. You know, everyone
Yeah.
loves Skipper. You
Oh,
know,
yeah.
that
Oh,
whole debacle last year, and then him catching that touchdown this
Oh,
year.
that's
So,
awesome.
yeah, it was great.
I love that.
So
Rub
when
right
we-
in their face.
So when we did that jersey giveaway
yeah.
a couple weeks ago, truth be told, my brother-in-law did end up winning.
Yeah.
It
That's how
was a
worked.
fair ref. It was
It
a
was.
fair
It was.
everything. So when I texted him saying he won, like what kind of jersey you want, he said Dan Skipper.
It was the first one he said.
But then he switched up and went Jake Bates. But still,
Yeah, and I don't blame them. Both are good options, but yeah, like that just goes to show you, like
Yeah.
Dan is very beloved. I
No,
mean,
he is for sure.
it's a hell of a pull, you know,
Yeah,
for your show,
yeah,
really.
agreed. And once we announced him, that's when we seen the vendor tables start going up.
oh yeah,
It took us from, you know, I mean, don't get me wrong, Andre's a good name, and so is Braylon, and McCarty. And
Sure.
McCarty's, I mean, Flint's a hockey town.
Yeah, exactly.
The
I
old
say that should have been a
Generals
big
and,
one too.
You know, so
he played here for a second.
He did.
Yeah,
The general. He had the it was 07, right? Wasn't it
Oh,
that?
right before the
'Cause he-
08 Cup run.
Yeah, I was gonna say because
he
he
had
joined the
a-
Wings for the Cup run and then sent him
Yep.
to. Like,
So he went up
yeah.
the ranks. He
Yeah.
played. He had a cup of coffee in Flint, went to GR, then came up to the Wings for the Cup run.
yeah,
But played on the Generals as a conditioning stint, wasn't it? the year
Correct,
before?
yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
yep,
Awesome.
yeah. So
Nice little tidbit there.
yeah, that's great knowledge. So yeah, you know, we're still working on more. It's always the goal to get you know, we want everyone to get more bang for their buck. You
Well,
know?
sure.
You know, it's only $5 to get in, but
Right.
still, most card shows are free because they're inside of a mall or they're inside of a little AmVets building, and they don't
Right.
pay a lot for rent. Fortunately, 21,000 square feet of arena space, you're gonna pay for. A lot of the fees, actually, the admission goes to the arena itself. Doesn't
Sure.
even come to us.
Right.
The parking is all arena too. So.
But $5, I mean, for what you get, I mean, geez, oh Pete, I don't feel like that's unrealistic, especially with
No.
everything being so
You're not even
expensive
getting a
now.
McDonald's meal for $5
Exactly.
anymore.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't feel like that's unreasonable at all. I mean, I
Whatever
would say
happened to the $5 foot long, by the way?
at the 6-inch for $5. If
I
you're
remember
lucky.
they were offering like doing like a 6-inch deal for like $7 not long ago. Now
What
it's just
happened
like,
to that?
guys remember when those $5 footlongs?
They don't have the $5 hot and readies anymore either. They're like
No,
the
those aren't $5.
$50
anymore.
hot and
So
readies, it feels
think
like.
about this: you can't even get a pizza or a footlong sub anymore, but you can go to a card show for $5.
See, I mean, that seems like a big value. You know what I mean?
I think
So
it's great.
screw
I-
eating. I guess you don't need to.
But yeah, so like I said, we're still working on more, whether it happens or not.
Right.
Just kind of depends on who comes along and
Sure.
what we can work out. So
Cool.
contracts aren't easy with these guys either because
No.
if they don't live here, you're putting them first class, you're putting them in the best hotel around, you're paying their transportation fees. So
Right.
it gets pricey if they are not athletes that currently live here
Sure.
or aren't in season here.
So for the record, when you say best hotel in town, so coming to Flint, where would you put them?
That's a good question. That's where Explore Flint and Genesee. It's an actual organization in Genesee County that we're working with. The new one's off Hill Road probably.
There you go.
Right,
Yeah.
okay.
The new one's
Yep.
off
Yep.
Hill
Yep.
Road
Yep,
there. So
makes sense.
I'll say I could Airbnb this house for a weekend if we need to. I might charge a little premium, but
Yeah.
we can work something out here.
Right. Right.
I don't think that's a bad idea at all.
Yeah.
I don't mind stepping out for a weekend.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. and
I wouldn't even be here that Saturday anyway. So
That's right. Yeah, and
yeah.
we got and unfortunately, like we're hosting a 3-on-3 tournament that day. Otherwise, I mean, we'd probably be there. I mean, to be honest with you, and I obviously met I've met you through it's a friend of mine, some friends that we all have some mutual friends here.
Yeah.
It sounds like and
yeah, we got a bone to pick with Chris here.
Yeah, I can't wait till Chris watches this.
and
I'll text him and be like, hey, make sure you listen to the next podcast,
yeah,
dude.
yeah, absolutely. Well, he's gonna go.
We'll be like, hey, you got featured on the episode,
And
so
you're gonna
make
be
sure you listen
featured
to
in
the
the dunk
first
tank.
20 minutes.
Yeah, because we're done talking about you now.
Yeah, right. I don't want to give him too much of the spotlight.
Yeah, you
right?
don't get any more airtime.
Nope.
Right. But I mean, to me, honestly, just in general, like what your cause speaks for. I mean, that's super awesome. And
Yeah.
Boys and Girls Club and all the other organizations that you've partnered with, there's a reason they partnered with you.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
and they see the value in it. And I think that's really great. And I think that it just goes to show you that the mantra in Flint's never always the greatest, right? Just to be honest, that's just the facts.
Unfortunately.
But like it goes to show you that there are good people, there are good things, there are sports are still very heavy in this town,
Very
and
heavy.
and I think it's a really good thing. I really do. I think it's a good way to bridge that Detroit to Flint gap, right? I mean, because
sure.
there is one there.
There is.
You get like the Flint and surrounding areas, and then you have Detroit. There's not a lot in between, right? So if you can pull some of those people, I think that's awesome. I
Yeah,
really
absolutely. There's one that happens in Lansing every month at the mall out there, and they get about 220, 230 tables. It's mixed between Pokemon and sports. Ours
Okay.
is 100% sports for year one, just because of a clause they have with another promoter there. But people will travel an hour
Sure
and a
they
half to
will.
Lansing. So I think people will with this too once they see that we've got parking lot security, we have in-house security, we've got probably 30, 40 volunteers that are signed up to help for the show to kind of walk the floor and make sure nothing happens, nothing goes on. But you're right. People think about Flint and they just think about the negativity right
sure.
away. Unfortunately, and I was born and raised in Flint on the east side, and I'm proud to be from Flint. To be honest with you, I love
What
it.
school did you go to?
Went to private schools actually.
Oh, jeez.
Talk about being born
But
and raised
don't- hey,
on the east
but
side,
No, it's always the private school kids, man. It's
There are
always
the-
the
yeah,
private
yeah.
school kids.
Powers was I went to Catholic schools, Powers freshman year, and then I went to Valley Christian. But yeah, it is those private school kids there.
Those private school kids. Swear to God.
So as far as I think Brett had a question about some of your experiences throughout some of the shows that
yeah.
you've done. What do you got for him?
Like what? So, just thinking of like sports cards in general. Like obviously, some like, cards like just have insane value, absolutely insane. So, what's the coolest one you've ever come across?
When
Like we
was-
could talk like nostalgia. We could talk value.
Value wise, it was at the Soaring Eagle show beginning of January. This vendor has a PSA 10 Michael Jordan 86 Fleer.
Woof.
Supposedly, he's the only one here that has a PSA 10, and the national show is like offered to have him out there.
Oh yeah.
But he had it valued at 190,000.
Holy smokes.
PSA 10.
like that's
Oh.
like that's so crazy to think about that. Just a sports card that back in the day you could buy a pack for what, $2,
Probably.
and that's how you would get them.
Yeah.
And now they're worth that. That's just a
incredible.
crazy concept to think about.
So, and think about this. So, we know that, right?
Mm-hmm.
We know cards from 30 years ago are expensive now. Why aren't we doing that now?
Right.
Why aren't we buying some of this stuff, keeping it sealed? Because when we're 60, 70 years old,
It'd be
we're
worth
gonna-
some.
but we still don't do it.
Yeah.
I talk about this all the time.
Because look back when we were kids, and we were all like, everyone was into Pokemon when we were kids.
Absolutely.
And so back when I was a kid, like, it was the original stuff.
Sure.
Which is now
I couldn't even
worth a
name
shit
any
ton.
of them. I couldn't name any of them now, to be honest
Yeah.
with you.
What now you look at the original stuff, and as kids we're like,
But you're like, I had that one, and I had that one, and you know what I mean? Like, you can remember this
then your
time,
skin
and you're
crawl,
like,
then
man,
your skin
what am
crawls
I
to look
doing
at the
wrong?
value. You're like, shit.
Yeah, like what did I do?
Mom, why'd you let me tear that thing up? Shit.
Or sell it at the garage sale for
Yeah,
$5.
right.
God.
Yeah. Yeah. So he had a PSA 8 version of that card as well.
Wow.
He had a Shohei Ohtani autographed. I think it was gold out of 5 or 1 of 1. He said if somebody walked in with $400,000, he still wouldn't sell it.
Holy
See,
smoke.
This is one guy.
See, this is when you talk about, like, why don't we do it now? So, like, Shohei is more of a modern thing, but usually when you see the value, you see, like the Michael Jordan rookie cards, or
Steve Eisenman rookie, whatever
yeah,
it is.
you
right,
look
right.
or Wayne Gretzky stuff, or even
Exactly.
baseball. We're talking like Barry Bonds, Babe Ruth, shit like that.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, so you don't really see much as like it's mainly rookie cards from my knowledge of it. Modern history, we're looking at these next superstars.
Yeah.
And getting the hands on those.
Right. Rookie is obviously going to be the most value, probably. Not necessarily most value, but probably some of the most sought after. But it's the cards that come in their following years that are like 1 of 1s, or that are autographed and they're a different case hit of that year.
Gotcha.
And it's so hard to keep track of all these case hit names,
I
because you've got you got Mosaic, you got Prism, you have Absolute, you have Score, you have Prestige, you have National Treasures.
Are those all like authenticity things, like companies?
No, so it's like Panini makes them, right? So it's all Panini brand, and then these are all the models, right?
Gotcha.
So
Okay.
these are the different sets that come
Makes
out
sense.
underneath
Got it.
Panini.
Gotcha.
Which all of this is going to change. I believe it's next year. Fanatics takes control of everything.
Of course they do.
Of course.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's going
Money
to get.
talks.
It's going to get. I don't even know what's going to happen.
Well, you look
Right.
at Fanatics, like they have all of NHL. They make all of NHL's jerseys now. They do all of their everything. And I think MLB, even though it still has the Nike logo, it's a Fanatics.
Yeah.
They were see-through. Was
Yeah.
it last year? The year before? They were.
Correct.
That was crazy.
Well, even going back to the whole, athlete signatures and stuff and the signers, like getting a Hutch, Fanatics owns them.
Mm-hmm.
St. Brown, Jameer Gibbs, like Fanatics owns the rights to these guys, and to get them to allow you to do it, it's not cost effective, and it's more likely not even possible anyways.
Wow.
Hutch would probably be 40 to 50,000. I would assume.
That's crazy.
So, and that's just that's obviously guessing, but what some of these other people, we were a part of a Comic-Con for a couple years, and I remember we reached out to Urkel.
Okay.
He wanted $10,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
Urkel's $10,000. Can you imagine what Hutch
No,
is?
man, I don't know that I can. Yeah,
So-
obviously, there's an understanding that you're going to pay a premium for premium athletes. Nobody's
sure.
discrediting that.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
$40,000 for 4 hours or 5 hours is nuts. Whatever. Yeah, 2 hours.
2 hours.
Whatever it is. Like that's
Like-
just insane to wrap your head around. you
Yeah,
know?
I wouldn't mind making $20,000 an hour.
I don't mind that one bit. But I don't think anybody's paying for our signatures.
I would not be here if I was making that kind of
You
money.
damn right about that.
I would not be here.
Yeah, and so obviously he had mentioned some of your, as far as value wise, what is your favorite card that you've come across? It doesn't have to
Or
be
even memorabilia. piece
yeah,
at
most
that point.
memorable card. Like, oh man, this is one that I remember from my childhood, and whatever it is. Like, what was your favorite card you've come across?
It goes back to hockey. Probably all my Osgood.
Yeah.
Ozzy.
Yeah, Osgood was one of my favorites.
One of it, yeah.
I had a book. Who knows where that's at now? But I had the Russian 5, almost every card of the Russian 5 of different sets that
What an
came out.
era.
There was a couple. Lemieux cards I had too that I used to be attached to when I was younger. But
I had a Lemieux card. It was when he was in juniors. It wasn't even when he was in the NHL
Oh, wow.
yet.
yeah,
I don't know where the fucking thing is now.
Right.
Don't know where
Somebody's
any of
probably
that
got it
stuff
in a
is
case
now.
somewhere, I'm sure.
And it's because I was a hockey card kid. I loved hockey
Yeah,
cards. Had
sure.
a ton of them.
Yeah.
Now I'm looking back at it as a dog because I was talking to someone who found a website where he puts them on there and he's been selling them. I'm like, oh, that's a kind of cool idea. It's like, shit, I don't even know where they are.
Yeah.
yeah. I don't know where any of mine are either. So talking nostalgia would be my because people bring them into our shop all the time, and so when I go through them, you go through some of these basketball cards and you forget about something like Stacey Augmon I came across the other day. Actually, a funny thing is as soon as we announced Andre Rison, had a customer come in with cards, and sure as shit, he had about 5 or 6 Andre Rison MSU cards. And I'm like,
cool.
I haven't seen these in the 3 or 4 years we've been doing this, and all of a sudden now Andre Rison's there, you know?
Yeah.
So, it is cool at the shop getting them in because you just go through them and you see names and you forget about them.
Sure.
I mean, how many athletes in the last 25, 30 years
right.
are there? So,
right.
So all of them are fun to go through and see. But I personally, I have one that's worth anything, and I have a Mahomes rookie prism.
Okay.
It's probably a $600-700 card.
Mm-hmm.
So if he wins, I'm not super sad,
Right. Understandable.
Just my value's gonna bump.
Yeah,
up.
makes sense. It makes sense.
That'll be one I'll hold on to. Me and my
Right.
son will hold on to that.
You might have to
for a
fight
long
Chris
time.
Collinsworth for that card, though, someday,
or the officials.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. Well, you never know.
Just wait until that Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift card comes out, because that's going to be floating around somewhere, and the
Lord,
value for that, those Swifties are going to up that price, and someone's going to pay it.
You darn right. Might be something to do.
So, a little tidbit as far as value things. Have you seen with the whole TikTok shutdown that some people have been selling their phones that had TikTok already downloaded for like $50K?
What?
it.
Get out of
Swear
here.
to, I
And people are
I've seen it
paying
all over today.
What was the game? The game that they banned, remember, because the creator...
Angry Birds?
Oh, no, what is that?
Doodlebugs or...
Doodle Jump.
I don't remember.
I thought it was
it's
Angry
the one where
Birds.
the bird went
Yeah,
through
it's
the
Angry
tunnels.
Birds.
No,
No, Flappy Bird.
Flappy Bird.
Flappy
Yeah,
Bird.
that's right.
And that was... People were selling their phones for thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Like, I just don't understand.
So, because like the thing is, if you like deleted TikTok because it had that like 3-hour shutdown
Yeah.
the other night, if you just deleted the app off, you can't go back into the app store and re-download it anymore.
Still?
I think, yeah.
Really?
So now people that obviously kept it on the phone, like myself,
Yeah.
Ooh, I need to check my stuff.
yeah. So like myself, I kept it on there, but some people saw the opportunity and they've been I guess some have been getting valued on eBay, like in bidding wars, up
I'm
to
not
50K.
shocked. I'm not shocked. There is not a thing out there that man hasn't found a way to make money on.
No.
I mean,
Oh
and
my
people
gosh.
pay it, so it's worth
Well,
what someone's
and-
willing to pay.
And then we're sitting here in a basement. We're just like, what can we do to make some stupid money around here?
Apparently, we
you know?
sell our phone with a TikTok app.
That's 150,000 right now.
We're not in the right business, apparently.
No.
No.
Okay, so you mentioned earlier when you got here that you were, basketball knowledgeable, right?
Yeah.
Football knowledgeable, maybe
Yeah.
not so much on the modern hockey.
Right.
So you mentioned Russian 5. We'll start with hockey for a second. The Russian 5 was an era that you remember very well.
Yep.
Are you going trivia right now?
I'm not going.
I got
trivia.
one.
He should be the trivia guy. I suck at
I got
trivia.
one regarding the Russian 5.
I was just going to ask, of the 5, your opinion, who was the best of the group?
Sergey.
Dude, that's an easy question.
It's not an easy question for everybody. Sergey, I think, offensively,
Overall
there-
skill, it's Sergey. Overall.
He
Okay.
could do anything.
he could do anything, and he only went 50% most of the time.
Yeah.
That's scary. Scary thing. Konstantinov, though,
I
was
liked
no
Konstantinov.
slouch.
No, he wasn't.
I'll
None
tell
of
you
them
right now,
were, obviously.
the smartest player to ever play the game was Igor.
Absolutely, the professor.
So I do have a trivia question about the Russian 5.
Fair enough.
So-
I'm probably going to fail. You know this, but that's all right.
So 3 of them, 3 of them were drafted by the Red Wings. Who were the 3?
So
Sergey?
Sergey was stolen.
Was he?
Yeah, I mean, essentially.
No, he was drafted.
He was
but
drafted.
He was.
He
Stolen.
was-
If you ever watched that documentary,
Have you watched it?
But he essentially
awesome.
was. He was on some like tournament with the Soviet Union, and they got to America, and that's when Detroit like executives went over there and snuck him out.
That's the only way they were going to get him because at
Yeah.
that time you couldn't. You
Yeah.
could not get Russian players, So
Yes.
Sergey was one.
Sergey was one of them.
Konstantinov.
Kozlov. Sof is in the Red Wings organization still. Is that not?
No.
Is that not? Okay.
Nope.
I thought that was a thing, but I could be wrong.
None of them are actually part of the Red Wings organization.
But they've
currently.
talked about Sergey coming back, but there is some bitterness between the Red Wings still. You can tell there's some.
I think
weird,
that's an Illich thing.
I don't
because
know.
you see-
maybe Chris Illich. I doubt
Yes.
it was with his old man.
No, exactly. That's the thing. You look at pretty much what Eiserman's been doing is getting the old boys back together. Like
I love
Lidstrom's
it.
around.
I
and-
love it. Hank's
Why
been
not?
around.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Zetterberg does things. Even Datsuk this past year has been starting to do some things as well.
Why
And-
isn't Fedorov in the rafters?
But Fedorov coaches.
Why isn't he in the rafters?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a debate in its own. I don't.
It's ridiculous.
It's
met-
because of the whole ordeal, like the '98 contract holdout,
But
and then
dude, don't
he
get
just
me
straight
wrong,
up left.
That sucked. Don't get me wrong, but like Does that wipe out everything he did for you? No.
No.
Ridiculous. It's like the feud with the Lions and Calvin Johnson and
Hey,
Barry
we,
Sanders.
hey, we're gonna put Ben Johnson in the rafters now with his little.
We're not going to put Ben Johnson in the rafters. Chicago can do that if they feel necessary.
I feel like they're going to already. I've been seeing some videos of everything. It looks like they
They are
got
just
like
in
the
love
second
with
coming of Jesus.
Christ, they're going to, yeah. I think Caleb Williams will be a Jay Cutler. So it's gonna
But you had a story about Fedorov, sounded like.
Yeah, so actually when I was my freshman year of college, guy that was 2 doors down from me, his family had season tickets to the Pistons.
Cool.
So we went and watched, they were playing the Knicks. Afterwards, we were walking up, and right in the suite was Sergey.
Oh, wow.
He doesn't speak a lick of English.
Right.
But it was cool. He signed our poster board we had. Super nice,
yeah.
smile. And
Cool
Sergey
little-
was
cool
probably
tidbit.
one of my all-time favorite.
So I have a card question. So speaking of the Knicks, have you ever gotten your hands on that Mark Jackson card with the Menendez brothers in the
It
background?
comes all the time.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. It's
Okay.
not worth anything.
Got it.
It comes in all the time.
It's just a meme at this point, pretty much,
Yeah.
because the shows they've been getting in the last few years.
The people are probably like, oh, this has got to be worth something. You
Oh,
know?
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's like the Disney VHS, right? You
Yeah.
know how many people call me on a daily basis? I've got Disney VHS.
Cool.
I've got a dumpster out back too. Like, cool. You know, like you don't have anything. Unfortunately, you know, it's.
Right.
I think at some point, VHS will probably make something, or will be something, but it's not right now.
So, I mean, how often does it happen that somebody comes in with what they feel is just ridiculous?
Oh, yeah. Okay, your prelude is my next question.
How often do you have somebody that comes in and just is absolutely upset because they feel like you're just kicking them in the balls?
No one's ever really upset per se, but I mean, I had a phone call today. A guy's like, "Yeah, man, I've got all these like Cal Ripken Jr. cars. I got Jose Canseco. I've got them like they're $1, $2. No way. So he's like, well, how do you look them up? I spent 15 minutes on the phone with this guy. And I'm like, explain to him how to look up a car and how to tell what it's worth. And he's like, yeah, it's $1.39. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, so-
You know, so he was
So now you've cost me more than they're worth, you know.
speaking of the devil.
Is that him?
Yeah, well, we can't say his name because we said we weren't going to talk about him anymore.
Oh,
Not,
son of a bitch.
not the customer. I'd be weirded out if that was the customer.
That would be weird.
Yeah. So it's every day. It really
Okay.
is. And people bring in suitcases and laundry baskets of broken systems. Like, well, I got a Xbox here. I see on eBay they go for $100. I'm like, yeah, if they're working.
Mm-hmm.
It's like we're not a
Yours
repair
in two
shop,
pieces.
dude.
Yeah, yours in 2 pieces.
We do repairs, but a lot of the stuff they bring in is way beyond
Yeah.
that. You know, it's
Right.
rusted. It's
Right.
you know, so it's every day.
Okay.
You know? And I get it because it's so easy to Google image a card
Yes.
and it populates a $1,000 card because there's a variation of that card.
Oh, of course.
That might go for that much, but you don't have that variation.
So, you know, people automatically assume if it's old, it's valuable, and that is not the case. That is strictly, actually,
So
it's
you
very
say
rarely.
so you say like the variations of cards. Is there like some sort of like code on the card? that-
PSA, correct? Is that how they grade them? Is that
Well,
what that?
graded cards, yes,
Yeah.
PSA. As far as variations, it could be a base card, and there could be a holographic version of the card. They call it
Oh,
a prism or a
understand.
silver or a refractor. So
Hey, I got a Blastoise holographic. What can I get?
I don't do
Did when I was 5.
podcasts, not Pokemon.
That's right. That's right.
I've got Pokemon guys at every store because I know nothing about Pokemon. So we
Sure.
have every store has 1 or 2 people that buy our Pokemon cards.
Oh,
'cause
okay.
I don't know anything about them.
Sure.
You know, I've tried.
Yeah.
I can do a little bit of research on some of the newer stuff if I know what set it's from.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we have a site we use, but I don't know.
Not your thing.
I can't even tell a Charizard.
I'm intrigued that it's your
Blastoise,
thing.
So. You know what it's the grown men. Like I just
I
left
believe it.
trade night. Before I came here, we had trade night at our Miller Road store, and there's probably 4 kids, and there's 60 people back there. It's all adults, you know, trading amongst each
Wow.
other and buying the sealed stuff and chasing and making master sets.
It's
and-
crazy.
But it's cool. It's fun.
It's people's hobby,
It is.
and that's
Brings
what's
back
cool.
Yeah.
their childhood.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
A lot of people don't play Pokemon.
Right.
They collect,
Mm-hmm.
and Magic's the other way.
Yeah.
More people play it than they collect.
Makes
there are
sense.
a lot of expensive Magic cards.
I've heard that. I don't know
Yeah.
much about it. I never really got into it, but I just, you know, you hear about it all the time still.
Yeah,
It's
I mean, we
crazy.
bought a set off of a guy that his dad used to own a Magic shop down in the Detroit area.
Okay.
We paid him $12,000 for the set, the collection.
Wow.
You know, and a guy from North Dakota 2 weeks later, came over and swooped it up.
Unbelievable.
Because we had it on eBay. So
yeah,
it's crazy, man. The amount of money that people will spend on a
collectible.
on a
collectible. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, anything. That's wild. I mean, and obviously, so we touched on the Red Wings, right? Yep. So Pistons. Okay, what's your favorite era of the Pistons? We'll start there.
Oh, 04 for sure. Because I was still
going
young
to work
with
Pistons.
Yeah, I was still too young for the bad boys. Like obviously, I remember watching Dumars play and Zeke and all those guys play, but I went to a lot of games in 02, 03, 04, 05.
What a hell of a run that was, too.
It was great. I mean, but they played defense. That's how they won.
Nobody in the NBA plays defense anymore.
Nobody.
The NBA is a defenseless product, quite frankly.
And I think it's like hockey too, right? When they try taking away fighting and try to make it more offensive and more entertaining.
Yeah.
It's not more entertaining.
No.
Like offense isn't necessarily more entertaining.
Correct. They assume more goals is better. That's not
why.
always the case.
That's why I love Mickey Redmond. Anytime like some scuffle happens, some fight happens, and he hears the crowd, and he's like, "Yeah, nobody likes what's going on right now whatsoever."
Right. Yeah.
But Mickey was no slouch in that department. That's for sure. He was not in front.
Played in that era where, you're out there damn near killing each other.
But you're going into the corner and your elbows are up. Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
So that I would say the 04 Pistons were
1000% agree.
That era.
That mid 2000s of Pistons was so much fun.
I mean, Ben Wallace wouldn't make it today.
No,
because he has no offensive game.
Correct.
And he wasn't a big guy either.
No, he was 6'8",
but he was dominant
6'9".
physically. Like he would just bully you off the ball.
He would box you
finals.
He bullied
Shaq in
right
the
off,
04 finals.
Absolutely, he did. And Shaq had no idea how to stop him. Absolutely
No.
not. What killed Ben for us, like, and I say what killed that. The only worst part was who was a worse free throw shooter, him or Shaq. Like that was the only thing he'd get to the line all the time, but you're like, oh my god, it's so painful.
Yeah, it was bad. And that's what I mean by I don't think he'd make it today.
No.
Luckily he was born when he was, because that was the era he was able to be what he was. He was undersized, but you couldn't get a rebound over him.
He was a football player up until I believe his junior year in high school.
That era of basketball was just fun to watch.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah.
It was team. It was team oriented. It was all about how can I make the other person better?
Now it's, hey, how many threes can we put up in one night?
Yeah, we can jack 30 or 40 a night, and hopefully we make
30 or
15
40.
But you know what I'm saying? It's
Go
just
up,
crazy.
dude.
I know, it's just crazy.
There was some game recently where I think both teams combined for over 100 3-point opportunities.
That's ridiculous.
Oh yeah, most teams are putting up 40 to 50.
It's just
themselves.
ridiculous.
It's nuts. Well, when you got Steph shooting 12,
right?
Which
he's making them most of the time.
I agree with him. I mean, he's probably a very few exceptions of the game that he can shoot that many. But
Ray Allen. Now, out of that starting five, who's your favorite? For many, it doesn't matter what the reason. Just out of curiosity.
And
Rip.
I like Rip.
I'm a Billups guy, to be honest.
I would probably say Chauncey because he's just a facilitator, and he was never afraid of that shot.
Yeah.
I liked Rip just because of the way he'd come off those screens and could shoot.
Those pop-up shots were just deadly.
Yeah,
God, you couldn't stop it.
But then you got Tayshaun that just played unstoppable defense and never
lefty.
stopped. She was just the energy he brought.
He's what got them to the championship.
He was for sure, and that's what I loved about that era or that team is like you could say something different about each one and love that player because of that reason.
Absolutely.
Could be your favorite because of that reason. So, but even the bench was deep. Lindsey Hunter. And,
Antonio McDice.
Absolutely,
they had all kinds of them. I mean, they had all kinds of dudes that came through there.
Mehmet Okur.
They had Stuckey. Stuckey came through afterward.
Yeah, Rodney Stuckey was fun to watch.
Darko.
They had Jason Maxiell, right? Jason Maxiell came through after that, and just all these dudes over the years. I mean, but the Darko pick was awful.
As soon as we picked, I'm like, we're winning the championship. I thought he was gonna be that good.
Yeah.
And he
was
not.
supposed to be. Well,
he was a dud.
He's the second pick. He's supposed to be that good.
Yeah,
that's the idea. But they literally outdrafted themselves in that one. I mean, they had all these other options.
You had 5
Hall of Famers
in the first 6 picks.
Can you imagine having Carmelo on that team?
And you picked the one guy.
Or Bosch.
Dwayne Wade was also in that draft.
Unbelievable. Yeah. I mean,
that 2003 NBA draft. We should break that down one night because that was impressive as shit.
Yeah, it was nuts.
Epic.
I actually have some.
We're doing it right now.
I actually have some. I have some 0304 Upper Deck boxes sealed still.
Wow.
I just picked up from a customer a couple months ago, and those are. I mean, they were probably $50 back in the day. Now they're $225 boxes. So it's just like And once LeBron retires, it's just going to keep going up.
I will say I'm not a LeBron fan. I'm just not.
God.
I'm not a LeBron fan. I can appreciate certain aspects of LeBron. Let's talk about the fact that the longevity is impressive. I don't care what sport to play into this age group at this level is incredible.
Oh,
it
for
is.
sure.
Again, I don't really like who he is. He's an Ohio State fan. That's the worst part.
Seeing him parade the sideline the other night was disgusting.
No, how about the stickers on the side of his hat?
Yeah, I've seen somebody.
Like,
comment,
what did you?
what
You
he
didn't
do?
earn those.
Yeah.
But again, like the 40,000 point benchmark, incredible,
Yeah,
right? Like
for
all the
sure.
things he stands for. But in that regard, in the record books, is really truly impressive. But I just can't get behind him. I just can't.
And his longevity is impressive, but it also goes back to the fact that he's not getting beat up by a Lambeer. He's not getting beat
100%.
up by a Shaq. He's not getting beat up by a Ben Wallace.
And if he played Isaiah Thomas,
Yeah,
oh my
exactly.
God, get out of here.
He would die if he played against the bad boys.
No, they'd have beat him
and
right
don't
up.
get me wrong, he's probably the most gifted and like physical.
I was like, he's a physical specimen.
Yeah, it's
he's a one of
absolutely
one.
absurd.
One
yeah,
of one.
for sure.
Yeah.
But his mentality, to me, is what ruins it because he
Cocky.
doesn't have that killer mentality of
Mm-hmm.
even like Kobe. Like
He had like a couple years where you could argue that it was pretty good,
And it
right?
was his earlier days.
and
Right.
it could be good.
It could
Like,
be good.
There was days it was good,
But he was
when
never
he took
Kobe.
over against the Pistons. It just wasn't consistent. Like,
No.
Kobe's every night.
every night.
You know, Jordan was every night, and
Right.
that's what separates him between those two. Is it was on and off, on and
Mm-hmm.
off. It was never every single game was going to
Yeah.
be his all.
Well, and that's something that, you don't find in athletes the Kobe mentality, really. You don't. You don't find the killer
Not anymore.
step on their throat and finish them off kind of thing. And that's what he did every night, sometimes.
My favorite Kobe video ever is when what's his name? I forget his name, but he was inbounding the ball and
Matt
Kobe's guarding him.
Barnes.
That's it.
Yeah,
yes,
that was
And he
awesome.
does like the fake to his face, and Kobe just doesn't even
Flinch.
It's
He didn't
just
care about it.
wild.
He was a dog. One of my favorites when he tore his Achilles, went and shot free throws.
It's still shot free throws.
and made them
Yeah.
right and literally just kind of essentially barely limped off the court, and you're
Yeah.
like, and then he comes back after that and literally has some of the most amazing games of his career.
I'll tell you, and
Unbelievable dude.
it's on camera, it's recorded, but that was the only athlete that his passing, like I literally cried.
I was just about to bring that up.
Yeah,
That
I
was
was
like, I'm obviously over the years
traumatizing.
not a big basketball fan anymore, but it's just like when that happened, it was just like, it was a trickle down effect for all of 2020 because then obviously a month later, COVID happens.
yeah,
But it shook the
So-
entire sports world.
1000%.
Everybody knew Kobe.
And COVID was kind of happening because I remember I was in my garage. We were playing. It was during my cornhole era where I was playing a lot. And we were in the garage throwing, and it came across, and I'm like, wait a minute,
Right.
What? And then
Right.
went inside to watch TV, and I'm like, my God,
Right.
Like of all athletes.
of any, yeah,
Right. That's
it's
the kicker.
just horrific. And then
Literally.
just the situation too with knowing he shouldn't have been flying in that kind
Yeah.
of conditions.
There was all kinds of
His
things that were just
daughter,
sorry.
oh
Oh,
my
God.
gosh,
And the
yeah.
other teammates too, and
Yeah.
some of their parents. I mean, it was
Yeah.
just awful,
Yeah,
awful,
terrible.
awful. Literally a complete, utter sports tragedy. I mean, it was terrible. What a stop. Jeez, oh,
What
Yeah.
was that?
that
My
looks like
God.
me on Sundays. Holy
Yeah,
macaroni.
right.
No, it's not me
But,
on Sundays. I do that, but I just don't save it.
So I brought up the 2003 draft. So yeah, the top 5 alone: LeBron at 1, Darko at 2,
Boo.
Carmelo at 3, Chris Bosh at 4, Dwayne Wade at 5,
Yeah. And we had our
four-
and
we
we
had
got
the pick of the litter.
Darko.
That's the
Who was-
one of the
who
most
was even
embarrassing.
six?
Chris Kaman.
Who was still a
Still
star.
He was,
better-
a,
Still
he was a
better than
solid.
Darko.
He was a solid role player.
for a while. Like he said,
And then Kirk Heinrich came right after him.
Ooh, that was
Heinrich, I believe it was Heinrich and Drew Gooden, right? That played together at Kansas.
And then
Chicago.
because Kirk went to Chicago.
Yeah. So college years they played together in Kansas, and I picked them to win the bracket. And if they would have won the championship game, I would have won the whole thing for that bracket. So I hated Heinrich and Gooden because
Personal
of that.
vendetta.
Oh, it was terrible.
Yeah, should have gone with Carmelo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he
Good
was
old
hard to bet
Syracuse.
on. He was hard to bet on too for some of his career too. Like no denying talent, but man, some of those years, especially like in New York, yeah, like that, just up and down. It was like,
Yeah.
geez, oh Pete.
It was the mentality again too.
It was.
It
Killed him.
It did. I mean, he had a great.
He was
shot.
awesome at Syracuse.
Another
Holy
thing
smokes.
you see a lot of now, you didn't see a lot back then, is so many players jump teams all the time. Like I
Oh,
feel like
yeah.
Russell Westbrook is halfway through the league at this point.
But he's having a hell of a run with Denver. To be honest, like
I didn't even know he was in Denver at this point.
But LeBron almost
keep
killed
up.
his career. Literally almost killed his
Yeah,
career. Like he
that-
was a shell of himself. And I was never like, oh my God, Russell Westbrook. I personally like Durant better until his recent few years where I'm like, I don't like what you're standing for right now.
Yeah.
But Russell was.
Those Oklahoma City teams were fun.
Can you imagine those?
fun.
I mean, James Harden. You had Russ. You had Durant. You had a couple
Kendrick
of
Perkins was
Kendrick
good at that
Perkins
point.
was on that team. I mean, you had some dudes
Serge Ibaka.
just unbelievable.
Dude,
And they didn't. I
Ibaka's
can't believe they didn't win
kidding.
anything. I just cannot believe it.
They they made the finals one year to LeBron's Miami Heat.
yeah, and it's
They
just,
lost.
but like Russ is a facilitator, man. And he can score, right? And he could shoot. But L.A. almost killed his career, and it was LeBron.
close.
And now with Denver, he's kind of back to his old self a little bit. He's playing some good ball, and I'm happy for him. Really,
Yeah.
I mean, quite
Well, because
honestly.
Denver's a market where you're not. LA is such a big market and
Ooh,
spotlight.
man.
Like if you
It's like playing
one
in New York.
turnover, you're
Right.
done. Like
It's-
you
yep.
might as well.
You're the enemy.
Yeah. So I get it. Like he can be him. He can be. OKC
That
is a
helps.
small market.
Absolutely.
So he went to some of these bigger markets, and he's one of those guys that is out of control, but can put up 29, 15, and 10 a night. You know.
He's got more triple doubles, I think, than anybody in NBA history, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm pretty sure you're right.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I mean, there was a streak there. It was every single night.
Yeah,
You're like,
I was
what
just about
the
to bring
hell,
up,
man?
where he had like I think 15 games in a row. He had
Something
or something
silly
like that.
like
It was
that, yeah.
some silly
It was
stat.
crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I mean, that just again, that just speaks to kind of who he is, and the fact that LeBron, like we mentioned, he's killed a lot of guys' careers. Coaches,
The coaches.
specifically coaches, players alike, though. And there's
Wasn't he? He was close to getting Spoelstra fired in Miami.
He tried to
when he
get
first got
Spoelstra.
to
He tried,
Miami.
and I think
and now
that's-
look at Spoelstra. He's still there.
He's still there.
Well-
Even Jimmy Butler can't get him out.
I saw some stuff today floating around. Don't know the truth of it, but the Pistons are going to be a big facilitator at the draft, or I'm sorry, at the trade deadline. Utilize draft picks stuff to move guys around. And I heard that the Pistons were going to be a big team to facilitate a Butler trade, whether it be to Detroit or elsewhere. What are your thoughts,
Dude,
guys, on
I
that?
can't keep up when the NBA does trades because there's so many moving parts. Like I
Yeah,
don't know
'cause it's a
who
3
gets
or 4
who.
team trade.
Yeah,
So-
and draft picks are going everywhere, players are going everywhere, and like players you don't even know.
Yeah.
I'm just sitting here like trying to read them. Like, wait, who went where? Like
Yeah.
I can't keep up.
So, yeah, and obviously, so my personal take on it is the Pistons have a young core. They've been drafting at the top forever because they've sucked forever, right? Since the last era. And they have not hit on some of those picks. Killian Hayes, terrible pick.
Oh, my
I mean,
God.
one of the worst picks ever. Right up there with Darko,
It's
but not
right there.
quite.
Yeah.
That
Probably
is
not as
still
bad, but
embarrassing.
It's still bad.
But they've drafted it, and some of these guys like Sadiq Bey, they traded. I was upset when they traded Bey because I'm like, this dude was just coming in to playing good ball. Yeah, Jeremiah Grant, and
Who'd they get for him?
they took capital, I believe, so they had three first round picks in that draft.
Yeah.
I know that. I'll have to double check on some of that. But so they're a young team. Duran's playing out of his mind. JB Bickerstaff has been great for this team. Cade Cunningham, all-star, no doubt about it. He's
doubt.
finally taken that run as a top player.
I think he's
in the
finally
league.
healthy. Is the thing.
And that big contract helps. Don't get
Yeah.
me wrong.
Yeah,
Do you guys? Would you like to see a Jimmy Butler who's at the back end of his career? Very well could go out in a playoff game and take it over. Still, I think it's still in
well,
there.
we
I think he
kind of
still
had a
has a couple.
similar project with the Blake Griffin trade.
He limped him to the
Yeah.
playoffs. They couldn't.
Where-
His knee was fucked up,
Yeah.
so he couldn't do it. But what are you guys' thoughts about possibly giving away maybe a draft pick or two or some young talent to bring Butler in for a year or two? What are your thoughts? Yes or no?
If you have enough capital, why the hell not?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think Butler still has a couple more years in him.
I think about
he's-
two. I think the prima donna stuff right now, I think, is built over years with the Heat. I think.
Yeah.
But I think overall, dude, that's still playoff Jimmy.
No,
He's still in there.
I think I think he'd be a huge help, especially with
Yeah.
Ivy out.
Yeah. But I don't know. I think he's supposed to be back for playoff time though. It was
he?
I think it was a 6 to 8 week timeline, which
Okay.
and Ivy was looking good too.
I don't know how these guys can go out with a broken bone and be back. And I mean, Anzalone was what, 5 weeks?
5
4
weeks.
Yeah.
It's not just you're not just going back and going to your normal day job. I mean, you're out
They're
getting hit
with helmets
consistently.
Where-
And
64
with-
snaps in his
and a
first
fo-
game.
in a with a forearm where in his position, I mean in any position of football,
Right.
it's the main point of contact for literally
And you're a
everything.
linebacker. It's not like you're a receiver, right? Where
don't
you're
get
like,
it.
I'm not going to get the ball every time, right? I might block a little. No. I'm the middle linebacker, and I took all but one snap after a broken forearm.
I don't
And
I don't know.
every
I don't know how you
tackle,
do it.
I'm part of it.
He was all over the field.
Yeah, I don't get it either. I mean, if Ivy's going to make a comeback and he's going to be healthy, I mean, our draft pick isn't going to be
Sure.
the greatest. I mean, even if we are a lottery pick, we never get number
Yeah.
one. We're always at 5 or 6.
That's just
Well,
Detroit sports for you.
We're just outside of
Yeah.
that.
And I've
Every
been
single
happy with what Langdon's done so far. Weaver was awful. Like, I really, to be honest, I had a lot of high hopes for Troy Weaver, and he just continued to let us down. Like, we'd have cap space, and we'd blow it on just stupid signings. Just stupid. And, like, so they had all this talent, or the potential for talent, and all these picks and cap space, and just underutilized it all. Drafted poorly. You know, like, Cade Cunningham was a great pick. I don't know if you could have fucked that up, though, to be honest. Like, he was a pretty much surefire number one. But other than that, like, he does not have a good track record, and so that set this franchise back a bit, too. But I like what Langdon's doing, and again, this team is finally coming around. Getting rid of Monty Williams was something that most teams would not have done after the first year because of the money committed.
Yeah.
But I give him a ton of credit for that because Bickerstaff is the type of coach this team needed.
Yeah,
Big time.
I agree.
You know?
And I really wish Gorez would be more of an owner too. With
I'm not a fan.
I'm not either. He's supposed to be this brain of a businessman. You know, he's
hard to tell.
But yeah, with the Pistons, he's like so removed.
Right.
You know? But Pistons play in L.A. Guess what? He's courtside.
Right.
Like, come on, I know you're out there, but this is your team. Like, you paid millions of dollars for this team.
Correct.
Like, be a part of it, you know? And
yeah.
I do, and Trajan Langdon was, I hate Duke with a passion. That could be a whole nother, I could do an hour and a half segment on how much I hate Duke. But
did you want to get on I hate Christian Laettner 30 for 30 at one point?
You know.
Does it go that far?
Yeah, it goes back to those days for sure. Because I mean, I've always been a Tar Heel, so I've always loved North Carolina basketball.
Gotcha.
George Zwicker, George Lynch, like it was just there's a lot of
good names have gone through
a lot of good
North
names.
Carolina,
North
for
Carolina,
sure.
yeah,
Rasheed.
and it's easy not to, right? It's not hard to not like North Carolina, right? So one of those bandwagon people, but
That's fair.
But I still watch them now. You
Sure.
know, they're not very good right now.
Hey,
and
speaking of
coolest jerseys.
Yeah, I was gonna
coolest
say.
color scheme, coolest jerseys. So it's easy to be like, hell
fun.
yeah.
Yeah, they're awesome. Yeah.
What do you think of the Belichick situation?
North Carolina hire? It's good for North Carolina kids, I guess.
Do you agree with it? Do you like it? Do you not?
Yeah, I mean, it's cool that someone with that much knowledge is going to go and teach some of these kids. Like, he's not going to be there long.
No, he'll be going to the NFL soon.
Well, he's doing it solely to bridge the gap for his kid to get a job. That was part of the clause of his contract.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so
Which
there's
is really
always,
sad. Come on, dude. Get yourself together. You got to have daddy do it for you. Like, come on. Jeez,
there's
Pete.
always that. It's not what you know, it's who you know.
Absolutely,
It's always that. So for him to make a move like that, there was some ulterior motive. So,
Well, the way his contract's structured, it's really convenient about the timing of off seasons to where an NFL jump is very easy for him.
I agree with his comment the other day, though, that these coordinators should not be
We just
able
talked
to
about
be
this.
talked
Awful.
to or
Don't get me started.
Yeah, we won't go there.
My conspiracy theory is at an all-time fucking high right now with
Got
all that
the old
shit.
feelers
It's
out
weird. It is.
Thank you. It's so hard not to be like,
there. Even with all the best intentions, right? Like you say, I 100% commit. You're not. Like, you're taking away, as we discussed, valuable time preparing with your team. Aaron Glenn, I don't feel like was as malicious as the Ben Johnson thing. My 2 cents.
he at least took a final interview and did the process.
And played for them, so you can feel that connection. Ben Johnson took the best job available that paid him not the best job, the most money. I mean, they paid him $13 million a year.
He was money
He
hungry.
gives me Adam Gase vibes. I've heard that a few times. So much.
I guess how terrible was Adam Gase?
Terrible.
Good old crazy eyes.
Well, did you see he was talking shit to St. Brown about we're going to fuck you up twice a year? And
St. Brown said it.
But he said it right back to him. And I'm like, you're not, though. Like, Chicago's garbage. I don't care what anybody tells me.
I mean, it could be a good hire with the young talent they've got. With
Right.
If maybe he could do something to Caleb. I don't know.
Well, I don't know. He paints his nails.
We're talking a brand new coach who's never
Right.
like he doesn't have like we were talking tonight. He doesn't have the head coaching tracking record.
No.
He's
Right.
been just a coordinator and an assistant everywhere. He's never been the head guy.
Well-
So now you're giving him the keys to the chocolate factory.
Yeah, because of what he's done in Detroit with an offense. That's
With
it.
a bunch of
But
pieces.
A lot of those wins too. Again, I mean, if you watch the game against Washington, they talked about how bad we beat teams.
Yeah.
Well, if you're beating them by 30, 40 points, that means your defense is good too.
Sure.
So if your offense is putting up 35, but you're winning by 20,
Right.
your defense is damn good
Well,
too.
and it's one
So-
thing to draw plays, right? And I'm not discrediting the position by any stretch. I
Right.
couldn't do it for sure. It's one thing to draw up plays, though, offensively and, like, move pieces around. It's a whole nother thing when the team looks to you or the owner looks to you the last, the buck stops with you, like whole different added level of pressure.
Oh, for sure.
And as you've seen many of us in the past, it ain't for everybody.
No, it's
it
not.
ain't for everybody.
And how many actually succeed after
Right.
their first gig look at McDaniels.
He's been terrible as a head coach.
Yeah, and now he's back.
Third
Back
stint with
as
Pat.
OC
he's
in
back.
New England.
I will say though, the Vrabel hire for New England is good. I like
think
that.
so.
And they took our defensive line coach Williams with him, which I think he's
Promoted
great.
to DC, but so.
But we just got Tampa's today. Did you
Did
see
we?
that?
I did not
We
see
got
that,
Tampa.
no.
Yeah, we got Tampa's. He was their run game coordinator and defensive line coach. He's been with Tampa for years, and it was a lateral move for him, but a huge move for the Lions because the Bucks have led and or been in the top 5 in sacks, all kinds of pressure categories for the last several seasons, and he's worked with guys that are 29 and under, which is good because we have a lot of young talent too.
Yeah.
So I'm excited. I did not suspect that Brad Holmes would not replace these guys with good pieces, and Campbell alike. Brad Holmes just won Executive of the Year twice, second year in a row now. He's one of the few to do that. I can't believe Dan didn't win. I can't believe Kevin O'Connell won over Dan. It's amazing, but it's ridiculous. Ben Johnson got Assistant of the Year. Like,
I don't know how
Oh,
Dan,
fuck off. Come on.
He did.
I don't
You
know
know
how,
he did.
I don't know how Dan wouldn't get head coach.
After all the injuries, and just what he speaks for, and the America likes Dan Campbell. It's just it's incredible to me.
But he's changing the game too, right? So how many teams do you watch? Look how many times Washington went 4 and 4.
I know it. That never would have
No,
happened.
and I think he's changed the game, and I don't think a lot of these people like what he's doing, And it's like, what do you care?
I think a lot of people still think he's a meathead, to be totally honest with you. I really think the mantra outside of like Michigan and Detroit is that he's a meathead. It's not going to work out. Well, it's working out pretty good so
I'm telling you right now, since Kevin O'Connell won Coach of the Year, I'm telling you right now, Sam Darnold's going to win Comeback Player of the Year. Even though he never had a career to begin with, he was
You're not
always
coming back from
horrible.
an injury or
Yeah,
anything
he didn't
tragic.
come back from
like
shit.
what's tragic is how bad you've played in your career. Like that's what's
Yeah.
tragic. Like
And I said it
That
all
should be
along,
Joe
too.
Burrow
I agree. I think Joe Burrow deserves
because
more
he
than
had
anything.
one hell of a season.
Yeah.
And what was he? He missed pretty much all of last year, right, or something
lot.
like that.
A good chunk of it. Yeah, and he was
So-
electric this
so
year. His team
he
did not
was-
help him.
He was really a comeback player.
Yeah, that's what the award is for.
Well, it's like
Literally.
MVP, right? Does the MVP actually ever win it, or is it more of a name? Like especially with basketball,
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like you're supposed to. It's supposed
That
to
was
be.
a popularity contest.
It is. It's the
Oh,
same thing
yeah.
with the All Stars. Like it's not the best of the. It's the names that win these categories. So it's.
I got to tell you, we've talked about this 100 times. The NBA is not a product that I enjoy watching, to be honest with you. I love March Madness in college.
Oh, March
because
It doesn't compare.
there's no comparison. The way that these guys fight for their jobs, essentially, and the energy and the schools and like the rivalry, just all of it. The whole tournament setup is awesome. It's a whole different vibe, and the NBA has no version of that.
No
version of that.
And that's kind of going to be our marketing strategy coming down the stretch is March Madness. I think it's the Elite Eight. Is the
Your
round.
weekend?
Yeah.
Yeah, March 29th.
Yeah.
Yeah, that should be Elite
The Elite
Eight.
Eight.
Yeah.
So
correct.
most games should start after our show. If there are any games tipped off during our show, we're going to have TVs.
Cool.
Because I'm a March Madness.
Yeah.
That's.
I hope Michigan's in the Elite Eight. That'd be great. I think they're dangerous
They
too.
better get their turnovers under control.
Yeah, and they've lost some close games all season.
They've
and
all been close.
They've all
Their
been close. I
losses,
think
yeah.
Dusty May has done great things
has.
for this program.
He has, and the pieces that we're going to, adding that Trey McKinney, that 5-star out of
Yeah.
St. Mary's,
That's a big one.
Hey, he's a Flint kid.
Yeah, his uncle's a good buddy of mine. They own that comic book store downtown Flint.
Okay,
Oh, cool.
So that's a name that if he's supposed to be out of high school by then and on campus, NIL deal, maybe have someone like that there. Bryce is rejected, but again, like we've said too, Bryce hasn't done anything yet.
Yeah. Well, and
that's-
I don't know. Bryce has gotten a ton of money thrown at him. And what from what we're understanding, what we've seen with some Belleville games and such, like great talent. But
Great talent.
again, is what I told Brett, like you still haven't thrown a college pass yet.
Yeah.
That's what If
mean,
he,
at
if
the
he
end
starts
of the
week
day-
one, I'll be surprised.
I don't think he's going to. I think
No, it's gonna be that Mikey Keene from Fresno.
I don't know. I
Yeah,
got to tell you,
I
I
forgot
think the
about that
opposite.
trade.
I don't disagree. I'm just saying that, like, I don't know how you throw that kind of money at somebody and not start them.
At the very
I'm-
least,
that's all I'm
do
saying.
the little thing you did on the national championship season where you had. So McCarthy kind of came into his own, where he shows like this is really his job, and Cade's always was
His
just
year
the,
before, right?
he was just a meh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he did something for the year before, so you still got to give him the shot. So they get hey, Cade, you're starting this game. JJ, you're starting this game, and then after that,
I
it's just
actually
like,
don't like that. To
You
be totally
don't?
honest, to be totally honest,
I mean, it only led to a national championship.
listen, pal.
so-
I'm telling you that generally those scenarios do not work out very well. Typically, because what did we see this year with considerably less talent? Let's be very
Come
clear.
on, that's not a comparison.
But I'm saying going back and
Well,
forth
I
with
don't-
quarterback
they
and
all might
schemes.
be equal to Cade.
Well, he's going to East Tennessee now. Is that where he
East
went?
Tennessee State,
That's embarrassing.
FCS school.
You know,
That's what you get for talking
For
shit about
seventh
Michigan.
year
Seriously.
for 7th-year eligibility.
Yeah, you might.
Like, what are
geez,
you
oh,
still
Pete.
doing?
You
so
might-
Iowa's quarterback is a Davison kid.
Brennan
Yes.
Sullivan.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
Stud.
and
Stud.
I have a lot of respect for what he's done, and he was good at Northwestern too. He just didn't really
was.
get his shot.
No.
And he was obviously electric for Davison, but
That was fun. That was a fun era to watch.
it was
at Davison.
absolutely, absolutely. So, well, Eric, obviously, we've taken up enough of your time. I'm sure you probably
Yeah.
want to get home at some point here, but we're looking forward to your event, man.
Yeah,
Really, and
no,
if we can
definitely
find a way
sure.
to make it work, we'll try to definitely help out some way. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
no,
So if
this
we can be
definitely
there, we
is.
will. But looking forward to that, and obviously. For those of you out there, we'll make sure we get the flyers on our site and stuff for you to check out. And if you got any questions, please reach out to Eric or us. We can get you in touch. That's no
Yeah.
problem. But it should be awesome. I mean, it should be something for everybody. So we're looking forward to seeing how that goes.
Definitely appreciate it. It's been fun.
Yeah, no
Thanks for
problem.
coming
at all.
on, Eric.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's always good to see
It
you.
was
So,
nice to see you. And
yeah.
a
Oh, I'm sure we'll be
surprise.
playing golf this summer.
Oh,
Yeah, for sure.
Doc's gonna need a sub, so
No,
how that
no
works.
way. Really? No way.
You know how that works out.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So without further ado, guys, appreciate you checking us out. We'll see you next time. Peace out.